Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, an historic peace deal's inked between Sudan's interim leadership and rebels. Fighters from Darfur, South Kordofan and Blue Nile states hope to move on from over a decade and a half of brutal conflict. Supporters of Ivory Coast former president submit documents to try and get his name on the ballot for October's vote, even though the Electoral Commission's already banned Laurent Gbagbo from running. And 3,000 tons of the same explosive compound that caused a deadly blast in Lebanon are being moved from storage in Dakar. Vast amounts of ammonium nitrate are being trucked into Mali. But first, Sudan's transitional government has agreed a deal with several rebel groups in a bid to end 17 years of conflict. The Sudan Revolutionary Front initialed the agreement in Juba on Monday in the hope of restoring peace to Darfur, South Kordofan and Blue Nile. Hundreds of thousands have died in Darfur since a rebellion began there in 2003. Two insurgent groups, though, are still holding out on that accord. Regional correspondent Mikelwa Shachwayu tells us more.
The government of Sudan and the main alliance of rebel groups from there signed a peace deal on Monday to end more than 17 years of conflict. It has taken about a year for this deal to come into fruition. The Sudan Revolutionary Front, which is the main coalition of rebel groups from region in western Darfur, in the southern states of southern Kordofan, and even the Blue Nile, signed this deal during a ceremony in Juba, the capital of South Sudan. The key areas in this deal include land rights, security, transitional justice, and the return of people to their homes who fled because of the war. Analysts have warned that this deal needs to be implemented sensitively. This is because, for instance, some of the areas where people fled from are now occupied. Millions of people fled their homes after rebels took up arms against the autocratic government of President Omar al-Bashir, who was ousted last year during a popular uprising. However, two of the main rebel groups did not take part in this process. They have said that they have not seen real change and transition in Sudan. They still see the military to be very much in power and without a concrete plan to reduce their strength. They say this even though part of this deal was an integration of rebel fighters into the national army and an offer for political representation for these groups. Experts, however, have said that this is a significant step forward for the transitional government's goal in resolving years of conflict that are deeply rooted in that country.
Koa Shachwayu there for us. Now, a well-known critic of Rwandan President Paul Kagame has been arrested on terror charges. Paul Rusesabagina was portrayed as a hero in the film Hotel Rwanda for saving more than 1,200 people from the country's 1994 genocide. He appeared handcuffed before the press in Kigali on Monday. Police say that he was detained after international cooperation, but didn't say where that happened. Rusesabagina lives in the US. He hasn't yet been formally charged and denies accusations of sponsoring Rwandan rebels. Rusesabagina has accused President Paul Kagame of rights abuses and of running a dictatorship. Congolese militia have attacked students as they took their finals on Monday. Some of the pupils were raped by their attackers after the raid at the exam centre near Haut-Uele, near the border with South Sudan. The assessments began on Monday after having been postponed because of coronavirus. The army accuses the Banya Mulenge militia of deliberately trying to sabotage exams. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa will appear before an integrity commission in connection to 2017 campaign donations received as he was running for leadership of the ruling ANC party. An anti-corruption watchdog believes he deliberately misled Parliament about the 500,000 rand, which is about 25,000 euros. Ramaphosa has vowed to clean up the country's politics. On Monday, he announced that ANC members charged with corruption have to take leave and resign if convicted. Party leaders will also have to regularly declare their financial interests. Now, Monday was deadline day for presidential hopefuls in Ivory Coast to officially submit their candidacy for the 10th October 31st ballot. Supporters of ex-leader Laurent Gbagbo handed in documents to register his name on the ballot, even though the Electoral Commission removed him from the list earlier this month. Sam Bradpeace has more.
all the candidates who want to stand for president here in Ivory Coast must first come to the country's independent electoral commission to hand over their dossier for approval to get their names on that ballot. The deadline is midnight local time, so time really is pressing on. Around 40 candidates have come forward, hoping to put their name on the ballot. Among them, ex-president Laurent Gbagbo, who has officially been barred from competing in the election. When his team came here earlier on, they said that they really felt it was unjust that the former president shouldn't be allowed to stand.
What we have done today shows our will to rise up against the exclusion, because they fear him, of our candidate from the upcoming electoral contest. The Constitutional Council has a heavy and historic responsibility to the Ivorian people to speak about the validity of his removal from the electoral roll from a constitutional perspective.
Outside of the Independent Electoral Commission, tens of Gbagbo fans also gathered cheering Gbagbo's team as they came to drop off this dossier for approval. Gbagbo, of course, is not the only barred candidate whose team came by the Independent Electoral Commission today to drop off such a dossier. That of Guillaume Soro, as well, the former rebel chief and close ally of President Alassane Ouattara. His team also came by to submit a dossier for approval. Now, the rest of the candidates will need to wait until mid-September for the Constitutional Council to officially approve or deny their candidacy. So we'll be waiting a couple more weeks until we know the final names on the ballot.
Sam Brad piece there for us. Now, Senegal has been racing to move thousands of tons of the chemical compound that caused the deadly explosion in Lebanon in early August. More than 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate were being stored in Dakar's port for weeks. Following an outcry, authorities have been shifting much of the hazardous stock to Mali. Our team reports.
These temporary shelters contain what remains of the 3,050 tons of ammonium nitrate stored in the port of Dakar. All week, a convoy of 20 trucks have been moving the chemical to Mali. These vehicles mark the end of the convoy. Their departure is imminent, according to this port official.
Voilà, ce sont ces quelques camions qui restent, voilà, donc, et ils sont en attente de formalités administratives pour quitter le port.
To reassure the population, Dakar decided to play it safe and to move the shipment. The authorities are supervising the end of the operation.
C'est normal que quand on a vu ce qui s'est passé à Beyrouth, que les Sénégalais, que les populations se posent des questions, mais nous pouvons les rassurer que dans le cadre de la gestion des produits dangereux, le port est habitué et respecte les normes, et jusque-là, on touche du bois, tout se passe normalement.
Shipments of ammonium nitrate arrive and transit regularly in Dakar before heading to Mali, a landlocked country where 65% of port operations pass through Senegal. In the Malian warehouses of the port, there's no question of stopping imports of ammonium nitrate.
C'est une opération régulière parce que c'est un produit qui rentre donc dans les traitements, dans l'extraction d'un produit qui est extrêmement important pour notre économie, qui est l'or, qui est le premier produit d'exportation du Mali.
According to port management, in 2019, 74,000 tons of ammonium nitrate transited through the port of Dakar.
Well, more medics in Cameroon are offering care remotely in a bid to make up for the low doctor-to-patient ratio. Currently, that stands at about 1 to every 10,000 people, far below the rate recommended by the World Health Organization. Video consultations are on the rise. Our correspondents have more.
Bonjour, madame. Doctors in Cameroon are practicing medicine differently these days. Video consultations are more and more popular. On the other side of the screen is Adama and her 7-month-old baby who has been having convulsions.
Qu'est-ce qui ne va pas exactement? Il y a les muscles, comme vous dites, qui se raidissent.
The internet connection is sometimes shaky, but Dr. Yemi often uses teleconsultations for patients who are afraid to come to the hospital because of the coronavirus.
Est-ce qu'elle a fait toutes ces vaccinations? La télémédecine, c'est quelque chose d'inédit pour nous maintenant. Si nous avons des problèmes, nous avons la facilité de pouvoir interroger un confrère.
Dr. Yemi has sought assistance from a colleague abroad. He needs to visit the Adamas the woman who consulted him on screen earlier. While at her house, Dr. Thiam joins them online, a Cameroonian specialist living abroad who often helps out with online consultations via this application.
Après la crise, madame, votre enfant reste inconscient combien de temps? C'est justement quand la crise s'arrête qu'elle se rendort aussi.
Adama believes in telemedicine.
Ça facilite parce que j'ai beaucoup plus de chance avec mon médecin qui vient me rendre visite et qui vient prendre charge de ma situation et qui me propose en fait l'avis de d'autres experts pour analyser ma situation et me trouver une solution.
Other telemedicine applications avoid using video calls for consultations because the internet connection in the country is slow. This young doctor has developed a software which connects patients to African specialists through instant messaging.
L'idée part en fait d'un problème qu'on avait à la base, c'est qu'on avait un médecin pour 10 000 habitants environ au Cameroun et en moyenne un médecin pour 8 000 habitants en Afrique, c'est très faible. Donc il fallait offrir une solution qui permettait aux patients d'échanger avec un médecin sans forcément se déplacer.
Cameroon has about 10 different medical apps like this. Patients are not being charged now, but in the future, they may be required to pay for the services.
Well, that's it for Eye in Africa. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Take care.